everyone. Welcome to the Wired Nerdy Podcast. This is season number 4, episode number 1. My name is good old Keith, aka Pixelhavok. I can't even get my name right. It's been so long, Doug.
Yeah.
I'm here with Doug, Glockified, as he's known by in the gaming world. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good. Yeah, I'm excited. Brand new season. Got some new changes on your end, but I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. A lot of changes. I'll just say ahead of time, if anything is weird on the podcast, meaning like my virtual background glitches a little bit, anything like that, it's because I am on an all-new system. We'll talk about that later. And
I was worried you were saying we were weird, but
well, we are actually pretty weird.
Okay.
But no, my whole setup here is a little different this time, and I'm still trying to get used to it because it's a lot of new. However, did you have a good break?
I did. I got a lot of stuff done. A lot of shopping, a lot of things to think about in the future, which we're going to talk about. So
Okay, that's cool. Well, I missed you, buddy. I'm glad we're getting back to it.
yeah, absolutely.
I know we'll talk about it. We have it in there, but I'm just going to bring it up now. For season 4, being our opening, we are leaning into what we're calling our quality over quantity metric. So when we started out this journey, like, what was your goal? How many subs did you want to get, Doug?
I think I wanted to get to 500. 500 to me seems like a crazy number. Cool. 500 people listening to us. That's great. We look at our friends group and we're thinking, yeah, 50 to 100 friends. That's awesome. Thanks for the support. But 500 was somebody else is listening to us.
I had 2 goals for us. Mine was a little more ambitious. 500 was a butt ton, but I thought, let's shoot big. Let's go for 1,000.
Yeah.
And then when you and I had hosted we went and helped Brian with the RetroCon, I said to you, it would be awesome if we reach our goals of our numbers that we want, that we could do a panel. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And last season, we were able to not only do a panel, but we hit 5,000 subs.
That's
so
crazy.
It is crazy. So we've far exceeded. Now, we didn't do this for money. We didn't do it for any other reason than just to have great conversations with people and with each other and to learn new cool things and just kind of share in the stuff that we like. Yeah. And so mission accomplished. So as a result, heading into season 4 with life and everything else, we're not taking the foot off the gas, so to speak, but we're wanting to pour more time and effort into the quality of the production. I say that as my chair is like flicking in and out on the video. See what I mean? Quality's not there. But we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But we're going to scale back to a once a month for the primary anchor show. Now, what do I mean by the anchor show? That's this right here. We have our predominant format where Doug and I are co-hosting. We do some nerd news. We'll have a central topic. That's still our core format. We will still do that once a month. But also, if you look back on prior seasons, you will see that we also go to events. We cover conventions. We go on trips. We have guests on that we interview. We're still going to be doing that. We're just going to do it once a month. Now, a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, why would you do that? That you're going to hurt your subs." And you know what? We're not in it. We're not monetized.
Yeah.
We're not in for the money. And to me, I would like for us to instead double down on some quality. And then also that doesn't mean that between the anchor episodes, this one here, we may have the opportunity to do smaller ones. For example, retro reviews. That was something we did. I enjoyed them. Yours were like, dude, you did your whole Fallout series.
Yeah,
they went through. They were popular. They were through the roof.
They got quite a bit of views. And, I said I was working on some. I've had some technical issues on screen recording. So working through that. Once I get some screen recording fixed, I will hopefully have some more reviews come out.
Yeah. So we want to do more of that. And so in between the anchor episodes, we may be able to do some shadow drops of some smaller things. I like doing tech reviews, like when I did the Meshtastic thing last year. Yeah. So really last year was not just part of a building year, but we were experimenting with different things. So we're going to double down on trying to give variety to our listeners, as well as still having the anchor here. It's just instead of us doing once a week of the anchor show, we're going to make it once a month. We're going to double down into quality and over quantity. So that's the big change as we head into season number 4, which I honestly didn't think we'd be doing it this long.
That's crazy. Yeah.
I'll take it. So,
absolutely.
I think the rest of the stuff we have is for the episode. So you want to cue up the nerd news?
Yeah, let's get into it.
Let's cue it up.
Nerd News.
Yeah, the first one we're going to talk about, I think everybody's feeling the pain of it, is the prices on RAM and other storage and media devices. The biggest thing, and you can kind of go into it, is all these data centers popping up for AI. AI is scrambling up all the chips they can, all the RAM they can. One of the interesting things I saw is that Samsung Electronics has made some partnerships with AI, and they're not even selling RAM to their phone division because they're making way more money in other areas. And you might be able to expand on that.
You set it up perfectly. That's exactly what's going on. So this is huge in the news. You probably heard about it. We're just gonna give you our take. You know, we don't like to sugarcoat things, and we'd like to try to break it down. But what Doug said is spot on. Basically, what's going on with AI right now is a gold rush. So there's tons of these data centers being made, and those data centers need chips, but they also specifically not only need processors, but they need RAM chips. That's memory, random access memory. Well, that has been going on for a while now, but one of the biggest manufacturers, Micron, who makes memory, it's also known as Crucial, one of the biggest manufacturers of RAM, which, by the way, that RAM doesn't just go into data centers. It goes into video gaming computers. It goes into production office computers like Dell's, Lenovo's, IBM, ThinkPads, you name it, all that kind of stuff. It also goes into our phone. They announced they will not be making memory anymore for that market. Instead, they were going to exclusively sell to data centers for AI. And that's what Doug's alluding to that's going on. The same thing's going on with like Samsung, with them switching over, not having availability for their phones, but instead of chasing the money and trying to shove, as much of their product into data centers as possible. Now, a lot of people speculate whether or not this is a bubble. I don't know. It might be. I think it could be a bubble, in my opinion, only because if you look at the overhead costs of what these data centers are going to really, to build, it's astronomical. And for these companies with AI, they're going to have to make a crazy amount of money in order just to make up for the data center costs. So I think it's momentary. I will tell you this. For this coming year, the implications are huge in that if you're wanting to build a PC, if you're wanting to get into any of that kind of stuff, it's a bad time for it. 2026 is a bad time for it. We are going to talk a little bit more about this a little bit in our mainline topic. But this is going to impact televisions. This is going to impact networking. This is going to impact your home router. This is going to impact, you name the electronic. Prices are going to go up. The storage for M.2 solid state drives, SSDs, already double right now. So everything technology related is going to be expensive in 2026. We already got hit in the face with tariffs a year ago. Now we're getting hit in the face with shortages because of AI.
Okay.
So it's frustrating for people who enjoy technology like you and I do. You wanna buy these cool products. Now they're talking about the Steam machine is going to be delayed. They're talking about a new Steam Deck going to be delayed. Any new handhelds rumored by Sony are going to be delayed. New consoles delayed, and it's gone so far that even video game developers, they have changed their specs, and they're now going to basically respec the games that are getting ready to come out to run on less RAM. Now, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing from an optimization standpoint, but this is a mess, and it will be this way at least for a year, because even if you get new players in to make RAM for those environments or for that market space, it's going to take a long time to ramp up plants, and you just don't do it. You don't, do it on a dime. So this is unfortunately the future state as we start this year. Things are going to be expensive. I don't know, bro. What are your thoughts over outside of like we're going to talk about your plans here in a little bit, so don't go into that. But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
does it bum you out a little bit? You were talking about a new video card at some
Oh,
point,
yeah.
right?
Intel, as you know, or if you heard in the previous season, I have a Intel Battlemage 580, I think is the number.
Yep, the highest
They're
one.
coming out with or they're getting ready to come out with a 750, I think. I don't know the exact number. But the Intel Arc series is getting ready to come out with a new graphics card. But how much is that going to be? Is it worth upgrading? When that does come out, you and I, Keith, will look at the specs, look at the speed, look at, you're not really going to gain that much. Does this AI bubble, and I think it is a bubble, crush that like option of upgrading, that making it not even worth it, if that makes sense?
The problem is the price will be higher because the RAM that it most likely will use, which will be DDR5, 6, or there's now a DDR7, anything above DDR4 is what AI uses. The price of that card is going to be exponentially higher if that's the type of RAM they're using. And then, like you said, you have to look at, well, what's the cost of the card versus what's my performance increase? Is it even worth it? Or should I wait? So it's going to be rough for a while. So just know if you're in the market for any electronics, my advice, hug them tightly, sit on them, don't do an upgrade right now. That's my advice. So save your money. Save your money, kids.
Now, it could also be a moneymaker for you. If you have RAM, if you've had things you've taken out of your PC build
You
and
can
it's sitting
sell.
around, you can sell it for a pretty good chunk of change right now.
That
So if
that
you have some old RAM
that's look
sitting
at
in
that.
the closet,
Look at Doug,
I'm
wheeler
trying.
dealer.
Yeah.
I always tease him about he's always buying, selling, and wheeling and dealing. I thought my brother was a wheeler dealer until I met Doug. Look at him. He's right. You
Yeah.
can make money. I actually hadn't thought of that. See, this is why your brain works this way. Me, I get tired of an old piece of technology. I'm like, I'll just
I've
go give
got
it to somebody. You're
a
like, I'm gonna sell it.
oh yeah, I've got a gig of 8 gig stick of DDR5 in the closet. I may have to whip that out, put
Dude,
it
that
on
may be worth some
marketplace.
money now.
Yeah,
It might be worth money.
love that.
Seriously. Yeah. Do it. All right, let's go into the next thing. I believe is the next one the Fable thing. I think so.
Yeah, and again, you can shame me. I've never played any Fable games.
That's what was going to be my first question.
No,
Was
but I've heard
have you ever played any
nothing but
Fable
positive
games?
things about it, so I'm really excited.
So the first Fable was done by a very controversial video game creator called Peter Montague. I'm probably saying Monolix. I can't say it right. You may want to look that up for me. But it's been a long time since I've had to say his name. But he made some really good games, but he had a history of over promising and under delivering. However, certain games hit like Fable. And it was on the first gen Xbox and it was huge. Well, they're doing a big Fable reboot and they released some video game footage and it looks awesome. You're supposed to be able to walk into any of the shops or the buildings and be able to buy stuff. And it's going to have just hundreds upon hundreds of NPCs, all unique and different. Some of the footage that we're showing here is from the extended gameplay that they released for 2026. Now, this will not most likely come out till fall or autumn of 2026. It's been pushed a couple times in the past, so it will be interesting to see if whether or not it ends up getting pushed again. But I think the game looks awesome. So I don't know. Have you even seen any footage on this?
I have seen a little bit. It looks really good. It looks like a classic. The only thing I can really relate it to is Fallout and Skyrim. Just
Yeah,
kind of an open world RPG.
yeah,
And
it's a good way to put it.
Peter Molyneux.
Molyneux.
I'm trying to
It's
do
a
some
French.
French there.
Yeah, Molyneux. See, I haven't said his name in a long time. So yeah, but this game, it's been on the horizon for a while now. We're finally getting to see a good sneak peek since we got past the holidays and this year started. I think it looks great.
I think it does.
They show the open world. It looks beautiful. The graphics
Now, the
are
thing we
just...
just talked about, I wonder if they will do it as well. Give you kind of some lower settings for RAM, since RAM is of the premium.
They might, because you're going to have systems that are lower spec now. So, and a lot of these developers are having to scramble to re-optimize in order for these to run on lesser systems, which again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing, because developers have kind of gotten lazy. They got used to like, oh yeah, most people have 32 gigs of RAM, so we don't have to take these graphical images and scale them down. They'll be look no further than Call of Duty install base.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
hundreds upon hundreds of gigs. When you're pushing a terabyte on your install, that's
Not right.
That's not right. So anyway, yeah. And I do want to shout out here. I don't want to steal any thunder, but the footage we're showing here is from Arex Gaming. Did a great breakdown of this. Go check out their stuff. But I'm using their footage because it was Some of the stuff I found out, they were very short, and I wanted expanded clips on this, and they did a great breakdown. Go check them out, but I don't want to steal their thunder. I want to give them a shout out. But you can see them, everything from walking around the towns to interacting with NPCs to some of the battles, and I don't know. I think the game looks pretty good, so I definitely would pick it up. So
There's a rumor out there, and I don't know if you've heard about it. Is it Rockstar is possibly making an open world medieval game?
I've heard of
Have you
that
heard
too.
anything? Yeah.
No, it's all rumors. Nothing's
Oh, okay.
confirmed.
Okay.
And you hear a lot. I've also heard that they're working on the next Red Dead already. I've heard,
Yeah.
yeah. I keep hearing they're going to shadow drop the Fallout 3 remastered on the
There is
last episode. But
there's
I read a
currently
thing
a
on
countdown on Fallout's website.
there
Let me see what the time
is.
is at.
You go ahead and do that. But I was reading on Reddit, people are like, no, 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 that's not. We will get the remake, but that's not it. And I'm like, yeah, but what's
Oh.
the countdown for?
What is the
So,
countdown for? Yeah.
I know. So anyway, there's a lot of rumors. It's hard to like figure out like what you want to put stock into and whatnot. So
Yeah.
anyway, all right, Fable looks good. It'll be interesting. Here's the other thing: if Fable comes out, I'm gonna have a prediction. I don't think it will release in the fall. If Grand Theft Auto comes out in the fall,
I don't either. We've seen this with movies and other things as well. You
they'll still
don't
clear of
want
it.
to have competition on your game because,
Yep.
me, and maybe I'm the only one. I'm kind of a one game guy. I play a game until I really beat it. I don't
Yeah,
jump
I kind of
around
do that
too
too.
much. So
Yeah.
to have two like title A games, which one am I going to pick?
I think a lot of people are that way, and I think you don't want to compete. So if it holds its schedule, I bet they'll try to release it if it's ready, but I bet if it launches, they'll push this. That's my theory. You'd be foolish not to. So.
Yeah.
All right, the next one, and it's our last one for now, and it's a question I have for you, Doug.
Uh-oh.
Do you think the Unreal Engine is hurting Hollywood, specifically for CGI? And the setup is this. This past week, the director of Pirates of the Caribbean was getting an interview, and he was basically going off on the Unreal Engine. And he's saying that the reason why the special effects look so good in Pirates of the Caribbean or, Matrix and that sort of thing, they hold up today, is because they were using software programs like Maya and 3D Studio Max, those kinds of things, where now they've pivoted over to where they're using the Unreal Engine. And his point is that the Unreal Engine was made for video games, so light hits things differently and it doesn't look as good. And now they're using Unreal, of course, in movies. And so when movies get criticism about looking like a video game, it's because they're using a video game engine for it. What are your thoughts on this? Like, do you think it's credible at all or not?
I think so. Movies to video games, totally different the theater of operations there. That's a weird way of saying you play your video games very intensely. You're very focused and stuff. Where you watch your movies for entertainment, you're not as focused. You're not running around collecting things. You're there just to sit and watch it. So lighting and explosions and sound and stuff needs to hit you differently than a video game because you're not as immersed, I would say.
It's good.
But
It's a good point.
uh, hopefully that's a good explanation. But you correct me if I'm wrong. I think Unreal and all the assets for Unreal, we've seen free asset giveaways on Epic, and we've seen them on our Humble bundles for the Unreal Engine. I
Yep.
think it's kind of a convenience store, and that might be a bad way to say a convenience store graphics developer,
Yeah. Well, everybody's using the Unreal Engine.
And that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. So
But I didn't do it as good as you can, I'm sure.
it's readily available for everyone to use. Now, I did find a link in that same article where Epic, who by the way owns and makes the Unreal Engine, responds to director Gore Verbinski's claim that the Unreal Engine is making CGI worse for aesthetics and craft from artists and not software. This is what they say, and of course they're going to say this. They say it's inaccurate for anyone in the industry to claim that one tool is to blame, said Patrick Tubach, virtual FX supervisor at Epic Games. Of course, they're going to say that. Do you know the amount of licensing money that Epic is probably making
Absolutely.
on licensing Unreal to movie studios? It's another market for them. So of
Yes.
course they're going to say that. Now,
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the Unreal Engine. I think it's amazing. It's a marvelous feat of technology. I think it's going to make video games look great. I love it. But I do kind of see his point that maybe it is a different tool that makes things look a certain way compared to the older tools like Maya and things like that. Because light, you're right. You said it when you said lighting is different in a video game versus a movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is an interesting conversations. Although none of this will matter if they start using artificial intelligence to make special effects, and then people will be more irritated about that than the tooling they're using, in my opinion.
Yep.
So
One point, and I hope it sounds really good in my brain, but we'll see how it happens. One point is you don't want one genre of developer, if that makes sense. Yeah, I don't want to see a monopoly on graphics design because then you have one flavor of graphics. If we have all these different companies, all these different ideas, we're going to get some different graphics coming out, different visual effects. Hopefully that makes sense.
makes total sense.
Um,
Yeah,
because it's
Monopoly's
done
bad.
the Unreal way, but maybe
Yeah,
the Unreal way, we're so used to it. We need something a little different that looks different.
some variety. You bring up a good point. I've been playing the Kingdom Come series, and it's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
not Unreal though. It's using the Cry engine for
Oh, see,
Crisis.
that's good.
Yeah, and so are like the Star Wars Battlefronts, and it does have a different view and aesthetic to it. So I do think you bring up a good point. Is that it's not good to have a monopoly on one tool type. So yeah, I think that's
I
a really
agree.
good point. So
Cool.
all right, that does it for the
Nice.
news. I'm gonna stop sharing now. Boom. So we've been busy now. It's not like Doug and I just stopped talking over the holidays. We
That would offend
still
me. Yeah.
still stay in touch. It's not like it's like I'm not talking to that guy. In fact, we got a chance. We got an invite. We had them on the podcast, but Ron and Jamie Dan User were on the podcast. They're incredible artists. They love tabletop gaming. They invited us over for Ron's birthday. He did this
Mhm.
cool thing where he wanted to play a specific game with different friends that they had, and Doug and I got invited to go, and it was called Space Weirdos. And I'll
Yeah.
put photos up while we talk about it. What did you think of it? It was fun. First of all, explain the game to the best of your ability. Like, what did you think of it? What's the game like? How would you explain it?
So I have to start with Space Weirdos. When he said, "Hey, I want to play Space Weirdos with you guys," I have heard that before. I watched some buddies at the Capitol play Space Weirdos, but they were using Warhammer Mini. So I'm thinking, oh, Warhammer, cool. So I started studying, and then he hands us this book of rules, and I'm thinking, well, that's not Warhammer at all. So
Hmm.
really, to explain it, it's a tabletop game with dice rolls. I would say it's kind of D&D in space, but it's only battles. It's not necessarily the story. It's only your initiative rolls and attacks and all that. The thing I really like is, and I guess we need to break down the combat. So you're on teams, you and another team, you're trying to take over a space. The thing that's really cool is the dice rolls are positive or negative. And what I mean by that is, say your little soldier, your little guy is hiding behind cover. You get to go up a dice. And if you don't know what that means, everything doesn't just use the normal D6 dice, six-sided dice. It uses D12s, D10s, D20s. Those are 20-sided dice. So that was a really cool aspect of going up or down based on your situation. So if you have cover, if you're behind cover, you go up a dice. If you're running around, you go down a dice because you're winded. And Keith, you might help me out. I'm forgetting some stuff, but it was really cool, but it was also confusing.
Yeah. The way Ron described it as a simplified version of Warhammer, and you are exactly right. You have a cover system where you can hide behind things. If you've ever played the video game XCOM, it is essentially XCOM in tabletop form in that it's turn-based. You only get so many points, action points to move, and those points are either for aiming and shooting or taking cover, or doing reaction shots. And then what was really cool, you don't just roll a dice to see if you shoot your gun. Say, I'm going to shoot Doug. I roll my dice. Well, if it gets above or below a certain number, you either hit or you don't.
Yeah,
And what's cool about that, there's a table, and it's like, well, if you hit this number, then it tells you what happens on the reaction.
it
But
does. Yeah.
what's really cool is Doug would have an opportunity oftentimes to turn the table. So let's say I roll a 7 and maybe I got to have something higher than that. The table will say the person you shot at takes a reaction shot back at you. And if I was shooting at Doug, he then would be able to roll dice, and then I end up taking damage. So there's a lot more variety in it. And I really enjoyed it. It was fun. You can play with any type of little minifigs. I just Googled some here, but I'll put the ones up that we actually played with, that Ron had painted himself. The most impressive thing when I put the stuff up, you guys will see. Ron handmade. If you go back and look at the interview, he's a true artist. He makes amazing prompts and stuff. He handmade the battlefield that we played on. Everything was 3D folded, almost origami like, and he printed it on like a thermal wax color laser printer. And it was gorgeous. I mean, it was so cool. So I had blast playing it. I hope you did too, Doug, but it was good.
I did. And when we put these photos up in the show here, you're going to see how focused we are, how intense we got. So one of the things you have to kind of convince to the other team, because you need to play cooperative, is line of sight. So to shoot or attack someone, you have to have line of sight. So in some of these photos, you'll see me and Miss Dan User kind of
lining up,
leaning down, and we're arguing our case per se with the refs on the other side of the table of, yeah, I can see you guy, yeah, I can get a clear shot. So big thank you to the Dan Users. Always fun. They always have so many interesting games that you may or may not have heard of, and it went very well that night. I liked it a lot.
Yep. And on that point, since we've started a new year, you can go back again to see what it's about. But they both host their own convention that celebrates tabletop gaming called RonCon. If you are in the Midwest region and you want to check it out, we will try to help promote on both our Instagram and our Facebook once we get that information. And we will be attending. In fact, last year we attended and covered it. This year, not only are we attending and cover it, we might be taking part in it. They've talked about having us do some hosting of being DMs for some Dungeons and Dragons, mainly because that's like one of their most popular things. They don't have enough dungeon masters, so no. Doug doesn't know if he's quite ready yet for that, but I probably will be doing it if they ask. So break out the digital table.
That is my goal, to be a DM. I feel selfish always being the player, but I need to go on the other side and be the DM and make the story and do that. I think I would be comfortable at RonCon doing a one shot. And, not that this is a job application, but I'm kind of worried that people on the other side of the table would need to help me. But I think that community, and I've talked about it before, the community at RonCon, the community at Planet Comic-Con, Retro Gaming Convention, whatever, they're nice, all very welcoming. So I would say, hey, this is my first attempt. Help me through this, and we're going to have a fun game. I think I'd be okay.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. So that's coming up. Once we have the details, we will share that for sure, and it's going to be a good time. So let's get into our main topic. The first thing, what is one thing, Doug, that I have complained about when it comes to video gaming for a while, probably since we started the podcast, about specifically my computer gaming? What's my one complaint? I always tell you.
I think your one complaint, and I could get this wrong, is that you work all day at your computer. You don't want to sit at your computer and play games, which I totally get it.
He nailed it. He nailed it.
If this was my office, I definitely need to change the scenery and something relaxing.
Doug knows me. He nailed it. You can tell he's my best buddy. He nailed it. He hit it out of the park.
Did we just become best friends?
Yep. Congratulations. No, I've been complaining about that since we started the podcast. Yeah. I sit in this office, in this room, dude, over 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day, taking breaks every now and then, on Zoom calls just constantly. And then whenever... And you know where it started to impact me? You and me and our good buddy Jeff there for a while. We played with Brian. Remember we were playing Aliens Fireteam Elite?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
That's when it really started to dawn on me, because we would put in tons of time into that game.
A lot of time, yeah.
But that game I had on PC, and I'm sitting at my desk. And I remember going to bed, and after we would play, and I'm like, dude, I feel like I've been in that office like 16 hours, and I'm just like, nah, I'm sick of it. So anyway, and I found myself gravitating more toward the living room. We have a main living room, and then we have another secondary living room we always called the game room. And that had, my son's consoles in it, like the Wii and all that. But he also has an Xbox. But he's gone full PC gaming, so he's always gaming in his room. So that room didn't get used as much. And I had moved my PlayStation 5 into that room, and I was loving it out of the living room. So then I told Doug, I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna get a Steam machine." And then I did the thing where I experimented. I took my Steam Deck, put it on a dock, tried that. I even did the Steam Link, and I used Steam Link with Apple TV, which works great, by the way. You did that recently, right? And you had a good experience with it.
I did. There is some
Nuances, right?
Resolution issues. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I'm trying to say. Sorry,
Yep.
going from my computer to another screen, I've been having some issues with Steam Link and resolution.
That's kind of what I ran into too. And you just want to sit down and play, right? You don't want to dilly dick around.
I just wanted to do it for me automatically,
Yeah,
and maybe
like a
this
console.
is a dumb statement, but the old movies of this has been formatted for your television. I hope in the future there's some programming that Steam Link formats to the current monitor you're on.
Make it kind of standardized. That's exactly right. So I got tired of I just wanted to sit down and play my Windows-based Steam games without dilly dicking around with them. Yeah. So finally, I was like, when I saw the prices going through the roof, we had friends of ours. I was in a group chat. A Omega, shout out to you. Neo Ness, shout out to you. Zelda Hat Guy, shout out to you. We've had them on the show. We're gonna have A Omega on at some point this season, but they were in the middle of building PCs. And this was right before this prices started to go up. And then I was telling Doug, I was like, maybe I should upgrade my computer. And I went from upgrading my computer to this, to that. Then I was like, well, maybe I should go back to doing like what Doug did, a gaming laptop. And finally, I was like, I'm going to build a brand new computer before the prices spike. But it's going to be a mini build because being in the living room, I don't need this monstrosity that's RGB flashing like a discotheque. See how old I am there? Discotheque. More like a rave, right? But I don't need that. Yeah. You did get that one, but I don't need that. I don't need that in my living room. I want something more subdued. So I went with an ITX build. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what that means, there are ATX and there is ITX, and there's different sizes. Basically, it's the size of the motherboard. It's the size of the computer. Most computers, if you have a full-size tower like what Doug has, it's an ATX or a mini ATX, and then an ITX is one step down from that. It's really, really tiny. It's like a baby computer. But the cool thing is it's not like a laptop because it's still a full-blown PC where laptops have their own dedicated special motherboard types. An ITX build is really tight, really small, but I was able to use what's called a fractal Terra case, really tiny, smallest build I've ever done. It's really condensed, but I was able to put a 5080 in that bad boy. I'm running a Ryzen 7800 3DX. I got to get my spec list out here. Now, the funny thing on this was because RAM was starting to spike up at that point, I was just going to shoot for, just regular on the RAM front. I think I was just going to do the 16 gigs RAM. But I ended up doing 32 gigs of DDR5. Again, all before. Yeah, this is a 7800 X3DX processor is what I put in it. It's got a 2 terabyte M.2 SSD, which I took the 2 terabyte that I had out on my other machine, put in, so I got 4 terabyte total. This thing's a beast. Nice. And I'll have pictures up being flashing while we've been talking. So that went into the game room. And the beauty of that is I have a very, very powerful, tiny baby computer hooked up into my living room that I can now play all of my Steam games, and I'm out of my office. At that point, when I did that, I decided, you know what? No more gaming in my office. My office is for business only. And so what I'm doing with my old PC, I'm going to turn it into a lab for my work so that I can do more study. And we're talking about Active Directory building, do some virtual machines, a lot of server stuff. I'm going to convert that. And then I said to Doug, I'm like, you know what? While I'm at it, I don't want to use that computer for my lab, for my productivity, meaning video editing, podcasting, all this stuff that Doug and I do. So I invested into a Mac Mini that just came in this week. That's what I'm actually podcasting on right now. And that's why I gave the disclaimer at the beginning of the podcast. If it's weird, you notice my chair's going in. I don't have it dialed in yet because it's literally days old. But so far I'm loving it. I did a M4 Mac Mini. I did not do the 256 gigs of storage. I did the 512 because when I was reading online, the biggest complaint about it is that storage is too small, fills up too fast. You can upgrade the storage in it, but it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I went ahead and paid the Apple tax and just bumped it up a little bit. But they do make a cool cradle that has an M.2 storage in it when that price goes down that you can put it in, and it expands your storage up to whatever chip you put in it. It can be terabytes. So a lot of new for me. I'm trying to get used to it all. I will tell you already, with this podcast, you might notice we had new intros, did new nerd news. All that was made on the Mac Mini.
Nice.
And so it truly is like awesome as a creator. Mac it just hits different, man, on some of the software and the things that you can do. So part of this computer, I hope, is us being able to do better on our quality for editing. And I'm loving it so far. And then Doug maybe play video games on it, even though I said I wasn't going to play video games in my office.
Yeah, I needed to know how that thing ran it. Yeah.
It did good. I sent you the stuff. I mean, when I was hitting
Yeah.
about 60 frames per second. Now, keep in mind, it doesn't have an NVIDIA graphics card. You're not going to hit ultra speeding. You're looking at medium or high on some things, depending on the age of the game. I tried Death Stranding. You know, I was hitting about 60. Cyberpunk, 60 frames a second. But it's not. It's going to still look better on your gaming machine, Doug. I will say that just because of that video card. You have the Battle Mage. It will do better. The cool thing is, though, installing Steam, you filter by what are Apple games, because a lot of people are like, well, and it's true, you don't have as many games on Apple. There's quite a few. I sent you the list.
It was quite a few, yeah.
It's
Not
pretty
a
extensive.
lot of big name games, but if you want to kind of explain real quick the way around that.
Yeah, the way around that you can do is if you want to game on your Mac, which we're going to talk about Doug here in a moment. He's got ideas. Doug always has ideas.
Oh, yeah.
But if you want to game on your Mac, and shout out to our good buddy Jeff, who actually turned me on to this. I haven't fully tested it yet, but I do know people who have. But basically, if you have a gaming machine, like for example, all my gaming is hosted on my beefier Windows computer with a beefier graphics card. You can run a software that's free called Moonlight. And what that allows you to do, it basically turns your computer into a gaming cloud server, and you can play from anywhere in the world. And what's really cool about that is if you had a MacBook, an iPad, an Android, any OS, it's OS agnostic, you can run Moonlight. And basically, your system will be the server, and you can play anything in your Steam library or in your good old games library or in your Epic library or in anything, any of those things. And it basically streams to you. And so you can play if you wanted to. If you had a Mac, you're like deep in that ecosystem, but you are a gamer at heart, and most games are still developed for Windows. You do have another way. Now, if you don't have a gaming machine you don't want to host, you can pay for a service like Luna, which Amazon has, or NVIDIA has a really good service. They're NVIDIA Now, which basically is a gaming computer in the cloud. And it also lets you access anything that you buy in your Steam library and that kind of thing. So you do have options as a gamer if you're a Mac user. So why were you interested in all that information, Doug?
I've been thinking.
Here we go. Buckle up.
This is the full drinking the Kool-Aid episode of Doug joining the Mac world. I've been looking at MacBooks. As you know, I'm in the legislature. January to May, we work really hard, and then June to December, we don't work too hard. We're still there. We have a lot of other things we have to take care of, but I have got some downtime, and I've got a ton of comp time to take off. So the tablet has been great. My iPad has been great, but I need a little bit more, I think. And I've talked to you about the iPad capabilities versus the MacBook capabilities. And then I'm kind of worried about gaming. I'm not worried about replacing my desktop. I'm worried about what can I do with a MacBook? How far can I go on the road? Excuse me. The couple of years ago, in the first season, second season, I've had gaming laptops. I was pretty mobile with that. I want to get mobile, but I totally understand that I won't be able to play the best games. But if there is a way, that would be cool.
There is. My only caution to you is going to be when you're mobile, the one thing that's not guaranteed is your connection quality. If you remember once, you went on a trip somewhere, you were in a hotel, and you were playing Aliens Fireteam Elite with us. Remember that? You were on your gaming laptop.
It was a little buggy, I think, yeah.
but that's because hotels will throttle. A lot of places will throttle their wireless connection.
Yeah.
So the downside of you streaming anything to that Mac. So let's say you want to play every single game you have on that Mac. If you buy a MacBook, your one downside is going to be the streaming quality. It's just kind of like Netflix, man. If you don't got a good connection, it's gonna be fuzzy. So that's the downside. That's the one downside to it. But you gotta kind of also have to make your mind up about, well, what kind of games are you gonna really want to play when you're mobile and on the road? I mean, if you're just happy playing Civilization and things like that, some of that's native on the Mac. You saw that list I sent you.
Yeah.
So you just kind of have to decide for your use case what types of games you want to play when you're being mobile. But unfortunately, I cannot say that you will be able to play AAA titles, every single one on your MacBook. They just don't make it for that. That's the downside of Mac. Now, I will say it's getting better, like Assassin's Creed, the latest one that was set in Japan, Cyberpunk. I mean, there's some newer ones. If you look at the keynote speeches, they're pushing, they're trying to get into that space, but developers, it's not there yet. It's easier to develop for Windows AAA titles. Now, I will say this. I do think that there's a future in which you will see those bigger games emulated. Now, to that point, I did do some emulation testing. Bruh. Any M chip can just dominate any emulation. And I'm talking all the way up to I was doing 360, Xbox 360. I even ran some Switch emulation on it, and it
Very nice.
was flawless. It was flawless. So if you don't want to do AAA type, all those emulation stuff that you have,
Yeah.
everything emulation would work great on it.
Nice.
And I mentioned it, I didn't even know this. Good Old Games. Have you ever seen? I actually installed it on my Mac. It was really cool. It basically runs DOSBox, which is an emulator for all those old, and they run great.
Oh, good.
So you do have a massive game catalog available on Mac if you include your emulation and your ROMs. So don't discount that. I just think you need to think long and hard about what is your situation? What do you want to play on the go? What kind of game do you want to play on the go? And I would let your use case determine what your next investment is if you do a MacBook. Now, I already told you, if you get a MacBook, I would not get rid of your iPad, because you get a value within the ecosystem. For example, already right now, whether on my MacBook, on my MacBook or my Mac Mini, or if you got a MacBook, you just click one icon and you can make the iPad become your second monitor.
Oh, no, that's cool.
So for you, I'm going to go one step further. You're playing D&D virtually. You do D&D and Beyond. You could have the Discord chat on your iPad. You could have, and here's the best part. When you move the mouse left and right, it actually seamlessly takes control of whatever device that cursor is on.
Oh.
So let's say there's an app on the iPad you just move your cursor over and you click. Now you're opening the iPad app. Then when you move the cursor back, you're now opening the apps on Mac OS on your MacBook.
Nice.
It's seamless.
Very nice.
So you're going to get added benefits that if you use the iPad with a MacBook or a Mac Mini, you don't want to sleep on that. There's some really good things, especially for you. I've seen your setup. You've got multiple monitors going on at once. And I don't know. I think you'd benefit from it. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've got a big decision to make. As you know, Apple products come with a very high premium.
They do, but they last a long time.
I've noticed that. I'm still rocking this iPhone 16 Pro Max. If I had an Android, I would have upgraded to a new phone already, because the battery
you would have had to
and other stuff.
Yeah,
so I'm very, very happy with.
I'll never
everything.
forget the first MacBook Air I ever owned. I had given to my wife. The only reason why I finally had to replace it was because it could only run browsers. They weren't patching it anymore. It got to a point where it couldn't run, it wouldn't load certain web pages. It wouldn't load Netflix, for example. It was that old. That thing was 15 years old when I replaced it.
But
that's how long it all the way up to the very end.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't get that life on a Dell, dude.
No.
You,
No.
you're lucky. You're lucky if you get 2 years out of a Windows base. So yes, there's a premium you pay up front, but it's like, you're going to pay where, $2,000 versus $1,000, right? Like it may be double. However, you're going to get double, if not triple, the life out of it. Because guess what? You're going to have to pay another $1,000 in another 2 years anyway. So I don't know, man. Like I'm all in. I'm enjoying this Mac Mini. I don't think I'm going to go back when it comes to productivity. I just got to dial in all of my video stuff, get it right, get it tight. But already I'm loving it. It's fast, it's zippy. It's I don't know. And I had a beast of a gaming machine, which will become my home lab server. So it's not like I had a wimpy Windows computer,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that thing it was rocking a 3080 Ti, and had an i7, so it wasn't no slog by any means, but this thing is just it's quicker. And I always say this, like a lot of people like they try to compare apples to oranges. They're like, well, this is stupid because you buy yourself a Mac Mini, it only has 16 gigs of RAM, versus my Windows PC has 32. Well, here's the thing that you don't get. Mac OS is based off of Unix. Unix was originally a mainframe server software. That's where Linux derives from. It's extremely efficient for memory management and for power management. So it doesn't need 32 gigs of RAM. It can be faster than your Windows computer with less memory because it's an efficient operating system. It's comparing apples to oranges, which is kind of funny. That's a pun now that I realize that, apples to oranges. Yeah.
Hey.
So yeah, people who say that, they don't understand the nuances of the OS layer and how everything interacts with it. But it is a superior machine for certain things. Now, hands down, gaming all day long, you got more options on Windows. I will say that.
Yep.
But that's only because the developers lean that way, and it's easier to develop for. It's hard to develop for Mac. I'm going to say it. It is. Using Xcode and all those kinds of things. But I love all of it. I'm not one of those people that kind of get hung up on. I used to be anti-Mac. I hated Macs with a passion. But that was back. I did, but that was back in the day when they were the colorful ones, with the handle.
The ones that I liked.
The ones you liked. And
Yeah.
I still admire their design. They're still incredible. But, dude, if you ever had to work on one, they were a pain in the butt. I will say this. I only became a Mac fan starting with Mac OS 10.
Yeah.
9 and below, I couldn't stand it. It was garbage, in my opinion. And I still stand by that. There's still good systems, but I honestly think Mac came into its own with Mac OS 10, which ironically was ushered in by none other than when they brought Steve Jobs back.
Oh, nice.
And so and of course, then what came, the birth after Mac OS 10, what came from all that is you get the iPhone, you get, the iPod first.
So many
iPhone.
Good hits.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm a fan of it. You do pay more for it, but you do. And yes, there is a cultish mentality. There are some Mac people that are so cultish. They're just like, there's some Android people that are so cultish. There's people like that for Windows. Thing is, they all have their pros and cons.
Yeah.
It's more about, can you objectionally speak to what are those pros and cons and acknowledge it. And it's also about use case. Some people's use cases do not match well with a Mac. Some people's use cases don't match well with Windows.
Yeah.
That's why when I'm telling you, you got to figure out what's your use case.
And I don't know that I have that answer, I guess.
I would not go buying technology until you got your use case figured out.
Yeah.
Because I've done that. I made that mistake. And I'm like, this isn't what I wanted. This isn't scratching the itch. You got to understand the itch before you can scratch it. Yeah. And I feel like I sat, like I said, it's been years I've been complaining, bitching about the video gaming in my office until I finally, I think now, after all these years of thinking, and I'm not saying you got to take 3 years before you buy a MacBook, Doug. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying, really ask yourself, what do I want to do? What's my use case? How do I want to play? Where do I want to play?
Yeah.
What's important to me? Is it battery life? What types of games? Is it AAA? Is it retro? And at that point, once you really know what that is, then you can look at, okay, what are my options? And then you can figure it out from there. And I think that's why I finally landed in the sweet spot on this last build that I did. Once I was in my living room playing the Windows games, like the heavy hitters, I was like, okay, this is what I should have been doing all along. Just like when I set up this Mac Mini, I sent a text to Doug and I was like, dude, I should have done this a long time ago for productivity work, because I enjoy video editing on the Mac more than I did my Windows. I just did. So, got to understand your use case. That's the lesson for today, kids.
I like it. I think that
All right, brother.
about wraps us up, doesn't it?
It does. We have fun stuff coming down the way. We still have a store. So check out our store, check out our merch. And Doug, what else we have coming down the way there that you want to tell people about? We kind of hinted at some of them.
We did a little bit. So as we go to this new format, we're going to try to give you one really good episode every month. And, we've talked about it in the past. We live busy lives, unfortunately. We'd love to podcast more. We'd love to talk about the things that we love more. But unfortunately, we just don't have time. That being said, we still wanted to deliver a really high quality episode for you. So some of the stuff coming down the way, like I said, we got some interviews coming up. A Omega, I believe.
Yep.
Hopefully we'll get him on the show. We got Planet Comic-Con Kansas City. We've done that last 3 or 4 years.
Yep.
Retro Gaming Convention. We're going to hopefully work that booth with Brian and have some really good stories to share. And then we also have RonCon, among some other things that we may just not know about. So there's some really good stuff this year.
We do.
We're going to be covering all that once a month. And it's going to be really good.
And then between the once a month anchor episodes that Doug was talking about, we're going to try to get out there some more content like retro reviews, technology reviews, just cool little quick hit things like that. So it's fun. We're here to spread the gospel of geek, and I couldn't think of a better person to do it with, my friend. So we just want to thank everybody for joining us. Welcome to season 4. We are super excited. Stay tuned. There's going to be so much more, and you all stay nerdy.
See ya.